Okay guys, rounding out my top 5 series for the day, I'm going to give you my top 5 most underrated dramas. So check it out. Guys, I love good dramas, good thrillers, such as Goodfellas, Fight Club, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, you name it. I really can sink my teeth into a good drama. Also Zodiac, that's another one, and I didn't put that one on the list because it is directed by David Fincher, and most people know David Fincher's movies. I would say Zodiac is probably his most unknown, but I didn't put it in this list because I wanted to give you guys movies that you might not have seen, or you might have seen, but maybe you really didn't give them a good chance the first time, and you might want to check them out again. So anyway, here's my honorable mention. My honorable mention is The Town, directed by Ben Affleck. And who knew that Ben Affleck was such a damn good director? I mean, the guy spent 15 years of his career doing arguably some of the worst movies out there. And then he comes along and really gets his act together and becomes a great director. And he did Gone Baby Gone, which is a great movie. And then he did The Town. And The Town is one of my favorite movies, probably of the last decade. If you like bank heist movies, this is definitely one to put at the top of your list. It is really great, The Town. Okay, my number 5 is a movie that I mentioned earlier in one of my previous reviews, and it is Sexy Beast. Ben Kingsley plays a guy who is hired to put together a team to perform a heist. And it sounds simple enough, but it's Ben Kingsley, and he is for lack of a better term, the biggest dick you will probably ever see on screen. I mean, so much of a dick that he is intimidating. And his performance in this is probably one of my top 5 acting performances ever. He was nominated for an Oscar, and he lost to Denzel Washington for Training Day, which was another great performance. But I think Ben Kingsley should have won that year. He is so great in this movie and so intimidating, and you can't take your eyes off of him. He steals every scene that he is in. So, Sexy Beast, please check that one out. Okay, my number 4 is a movie that a lot of you probably never heard of. It's a movie about Ian Curtis from Joy Division. It's called Control. Joy Division is one of those bands that when you get into them, you get lost in Joy Division. They are so good. And I know James O'Barr, who wrote The Crow, Joy Division was his favorite band, and he even made the Crow look like Ian Curtis in the face, if you look at the comic book. He even used lines from Ian Curtis in some of the Joy Division songs in the graphic novel. I didn't really get into Joy Division until about 5 years ago, and then I discovered this movie, and it's got Joy Division music in it, but it's more about Ian Curtis and his life. And it was a life of misery and sadness, and because of that, we got all that great music. And they only put out 2 full-length studio albums. So definitely check out Control if you're a music lover. But even if you're not a music lover, it's a great movie. It really is. And it's filmed in black and white, which I think is really cool. Okay, my number 3 most underrated drama is Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. This is another one of those movies that kind of came and went. It did okay at the box office, but nobody really talked about it that much after. I'm in the military, I'm in the Air Force, and I was stationed in Japan for 3 years. And I think this movie came out while I was stationed in Japan. I think living in Japan made me really appreciate the beauty of this movie. Directed by Edward Zwick. I can't say his last name, Zwick. It's directed by Edward Zwick. Okay, there we go, back on track. The thing about his directing, he likes landscapes, and he likes to show the beauty of the earth, and he takes his time with his direction. And it has some really powerful performances, and it's got one of the greatest scores, I think, of the last decade. So definitely check out The Last Samurai. Beautiful movie. Okay, my number 2. I'm a huge Ridley Scott fan. He is definitely in my top 3 favorite directors. And this is one that kind of went unnoticed. It's Kingdom of Heaven. And the reason being is because when they released it, they released a theatrical cut that was really stripped down, and they cut out a whole subplot of the movie that was really important. And I will say this is one of the greatest director's cuts that you will ever see. It's about 30 minutes longer than the theatrical cut, and I haven't watched the theatrical cut since I saw it in the theaters. Even when I saw it in the theaters, I thought it was only okay. And then, luckily, I checked out the director's cut, and now it's one of my favorite dramas. And it's got a lot of great action in it. It covers the Crusades, and it shows the power of religion and the negative and positive effects that it can have on a society. Definitely check out Kingdom of Heaven. Beautifully directed movie too, by the way. Beautiful. Okay, finally, this is one of my favorite dramas. It's a movie that came out in the 80s. It is To Live and Die in LA. And a lot of you have probably never even heard of this movie. But those of you that have seen it, you probably love it just as much as I do. William Peterson stars in it, Willem Dafoe. And if you want to learn how to counterfeit money, at least in the 80s, this movie shows you step by step. But it is so gripping. It's a crime drama about the counterfeit underground, and William Peterson and his partner, they are detectives, and they're trying to crack down the case. It's directed by William Friedkin, who directed The Exorcist. Who knew that William Friedkin could direct such a great crime thriller? So yeah, To Live and Die in LA. Check that out. Okay guys, that wraps up my top drama movies that you might not have heard of. The dramas that might have flew under the radar. Movies that not everybody has heard of. I'm looking forward to hearing your suggestions. I'm always on the lookout for some new good dramas, or ones that might have flew under the radar. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and Drumdum out.